Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Six Colors live stream at embargo time for Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro. This stream is labeled Final Cut Pro. I got a real simple reason for that, which is you can read my review at sixcolors.com, or hands-on first look. I don't know what it is. I am not able to review Logic Pro essentially because Logic Pro on the iPad. Okay, it's not for me. This is not. I don't want to come across as being negative about the product because I'm really not. I have no opinion about it because I'm not a musician. What I will say is there are a bunch of us who adopted Logic, which is a music product, on the Mac as well, and we adopted it as our tool for doing podcasts. And the reason we did that is because we needed something better than GarageBand, which also is a music tool, but they also made it sort of a podcast tool. Anyway, we don't use most of the features. We're doing it wrong. We're holding it wrong. We're using it wrong. But it works for us. When Apple brought Logic to the iPad, it made a very concerted effort to make it focused on music features. And I don't blame them for that at all. Perfectly reasonable thing to do. As a result, however, not only can I not even bring in my Logic projects unless I move them into the music grid, which is not a thing that, podcasts are for. And then when I get it there, it's missing a lot of the features that I would rely on to do podcast editing on the Mac. They're not there on the iPad. So all I have to say about Logic on the iPad is that it's not for me. It's a music tool through and through, as it should be, and as Apple said it is, and I don't blame them for that. So I don't have anything more to say about it. I do use Final Cut Pro as well all the time. Oh, by the way, plug for Ferrite Recording Studio. If you're a podcast editor on the iPad or want to be on the iPad, you should totally use Ferrite. It's great. The only thing it doesn't do is round trip with the Mac. Hopefully there'll be a Mac version soon. But that's it. It's Ferrite is great for podcasters. Logic is not for podcasters. We are not here to talk about Logic, though. We are here to talk about Final Cut. And actually what this is not so much a talk as a demo. Hi, we are going to demo Final Cut Pro on an M2 iPad Pro right now. My embargo dropped. I've been using it for about a week, editing a bunch of clips. So on the Upgrade podcast, we record our own video. We don't send it to each other until after the fact. And we record our own audio because that's how podcasts are made. And then we've been doing little social sharing clip things. And this week's clips were edited in Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Last week, I did it on both, actually. The ones that are public were from the Mac, but then I re-edited them on the iPad just to see what that was like. So my real goal here, I can answer some questions as we go, but I'm going to do some demoing as well. We've already gotten a question about importing. You can read about it in my review. Like, I ended up hooking up a Thunderbolt cable to the iPad from my Mac and dragging files over in the Finder. Video files are huge, and there's not a great way to get them into the iPad. If you've got them on a memory card and you've got a card reader, you could use that. But yeah, I literally ended up this Thunderbolt cable here, actually, attached to my Mac, and then you open up the Finder, because they moved it from iTunes when they changed it to music. They put it in the Finder, and you go to Files on your device, and then you make a folder or you put it in the Final Cut folder, and those files are there, and then Final Cut can see them and import them. So I have done that here. You will see I've got, just because you might want to see what my hands are doing, I've got a overhead view of the iPad, and then I've got on the left a screen capture view of the iPad. So we're going to edit a little clip here from Upgrade just so that you can see what's going on, and I hope that's useful in some way. So the way, I already brought this in. It's already synced. I meant these little, moving the little track items on the screen is actually one of the most frustrating things about Final Cut on the iPad. They haven't quite gotten the timing right where, a tap is a select, a tap and hold for too long brings up a contextual menu. But there's this like in-between state where you want to tap it and then move it, and it's very hard to trigger. Sometimes it becomes impossible to trigger. Sometimes it makes the app crash. The only workaround that I've actually found is to drag it as if I'm dragging it somewhere else in the stack, up or down. And when it's in that sort of ghost track state where it's partially transparent, then I can also move it left and right and kind of move it back to where it was and drop it, and it goes in. they got some work to do. There are a lot of bugs. I had a lot of crashes. Sometimes it works great, and other times it gets real weird. We may have crashes right now. This is all live. I will say that the one thing, if you're precisely placing a clip, one thing you can do is there's this new user interface feature it's not new from video. It's like a jog wheel. That's what it is. It's literally a jog wheel. But one of the things you can do with the jog wheel interface, and I like what they did here. If you look, there are sort of two modes. There's this mode, which is the little pin, and that's going to change. I've got this audio selected right now. That will actually change what's it going to do? It's actually okay. Well, it's just moving. It's moving the playhead. That's what it is. So it's just going to. I can get some precise movement of the playhead using that. But the way I've been using it, since I can't drag effectively, is tapping it over into nudge mode. And then in nudge mode, it's like hitting, you actually can hit the greater than, less than, a comma and period keys on the keyboard if you're attached to a keyboard. But if you're not, if you're just freehanding it on your iPad, you can use this nudge mode and it will let you do, I can even zoom in here, it will give you precise nudging of that track to where you want it to go. Which is nice. Now I'm going to undo that because it's actually synced now. So anyway, I really would like to be able to tap and kind of like precisely just sort of do it with my finger rather than using the nudge tool all the time or the workaround. I think it's just a bug. I think they've got some iPad timing issues to deal with. Okay, so here's my thing. I'm going to press play. I'm going to do a lot of play pausing here. You'll see that my hand is now in the official hand position of Final Cut Pro on the iPad, which is with your thumb over the play pause button, because Apple, this is one of those things that I think it's going to be an easy win for them to add this feature down the road, but like Apple hasn't created a gesture for play pause. The great thing about Fairlight Recording Studio, one of the many great things about it, is that you can just play pause by tapping anywhere on the screen with two fingers. And play pause, I don't know, maybe other people edit differently than me. I'm playing and pausing my media a lot. Not just scrubbing, but playing and pausing an awful lot. And I have learned, hold my iPad. I mean, it's in the case now, but you get it. Hold it like this so that this thumb is always hovering over play pause because there's no other gesture there. And it's an easy win for Apple to add something that's a little multi-touch gesture to control that from anywhere. Because, the fact is, it seems like a little thing. Oh no, my hand must move slightly. But you're holding an iPad, you got to readjust your grip. And if you're doing it 100, 200, 300 times in a short span, to have to constantly be doing this, instead of just wherever you are, you're doing a thing and then you tap and play and then you tap again and pause and then you do another thing. It's just a huge quality of life thing. It is the equivalent, Mac Lover asks about the spacebar. It's the equivalent of the spacebar, and the spacebar totally works if you're in the case. The keyboard commands for this are pretty good. I'm going to start with freehanding it, so pretend I don't have a keyboard here. Oh, my settings. It's real. It's a live demo. So we'll get there, but I want to talk about it without the keyboard because that's the primary mode that Apple is talking about, and then we'll get into the keyboard. So here I am with my video.
Jason knows the 7th color as well, but he just won't tell you what it is.
It's ultraviolet.
I have a Salesforce question.
Okay, we're gonna start there. I already edited that part. We're gonna start there, and the way this works is I've got a stack. I've got Mike's video and my video, then our audios, and they're just in a regular old stack here.
Comes from Zach, who wants to know, Jason, when you're eating leftover pizza, do you eat it cold or do you reheat the pizza?
I'm going to do we're doing some basic stuff here. This is not the most exciting stuff in the world. All right, I'm going to tap on this track, and then this is a choice that Apple made that I actually think I get what they're doing here, but I wish, again, that there was a gestural shortcut. So I want to split this clip right here because I'm actually going to slide the mic video track and reveal myself as I'm reacting to what he's saying here, right? So what I'd like to do, and what you could do in something like Fairlight, is do a little, oh God, what did I even do there? Is do like a little blade gesture and have it blade the clip right there. It doesn't do that, but they have put all these gestures down in the bottom right-hand corner, or buttons in the bottom right-hand corner, for things like deleting a clip, selecting multiple clips, splitting a clip, or trimming it to the playhead left or right. It's not bad. I find myself doing a lot of do over here, back here, over here, back here, that I feel like, again, I'm sorry to keep hammering on this point, but like this is the missing piece here is that there are a lot of multi-touch gestures that could make this a lot easier and faster. But I'm going to split the clip there. That worked great. And now I'm actually going to just drag this and uncover me. I'm dragging the edge to trim this clip so that I'm visible for a moment.
Leftover pizza. Do you eat it cold or do you reheat the pizza?
And then I'm going to split the clip again here. With the pizza, we're in a little run here, Mike. These pizza questions. I don't know whether I would do this normally, but I'm just gonna unearth a little reaction shot there because it's another move. Mike, these pizza questions.
I have some pizza follow-up.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to
actually before you get.
All right. I'm going to. What am I going to do here? I'm going to split my audio and I'm going to uncover my audio. See, this is all pretty straightforward. There are some challenges. So let's say I want to cut out, there's a little pause back here. And this is social media, so, you know, we want to be quick and jump cuts don't matter anymore, I guess. I was taught that they did. Turns out the future called they don't matter. So I'm going to...
Jason,
I'm going to cut out that little pause. So here's how you have to do that. So method number one, which is less than ideal, but is something that you can do, is you tap the selection check, and then you go tap, 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 tap. You can't do it too fast or it won't select. And then you tap done, which doesn't deselect them, which I find very strange. And then you tap the split clip button, and it splits the clip. It's a lot. So here's the other way to do it, though. And I think that this is, I'm glad Apple put this in here because it actually fits because it's the way you think about it on desktop, or at least the way I think about it on desktop, which is if you find a space and you have to put your finger in a place that is in the timeline but not on a clip, and then you tap and drag, you will get the drag rectangle. And at that point, you can drag out a selection and do it that way. Similarly, then now I want to delete this stack of clips. You know, there are a few ways to do it, but again, you're either drag selecting or you have to go over here and select and tap them all and then press done and then press trash, which is dumb. But the nice thing is that since the master clip is my video, if I tap on that one and just tap the trash can, the whole thing collapses and we get.
To know, Jason, when you are eating,
who cares about jump cuts? Nobody cares anymore. So let's just go. We'll just do some more. I'm keeping it basic because I just want you to see the interface and talk about how it works.
Actually before you get to the snow talk.
Okay. All right.
Federico.
All right. So I'm just doing my process here. So you're just all watching me.
Before you get to the snow talk.
Okay. All right.
Federico was happy.
Okay, so let's try a little harder edit here. And I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to give it a try. I'm going to try to slide Mike's comment about Federico away from my comment about lay it on me. So I'm going to split the clips in some different places. Oh, nope, I did it wrong. I'm going to undo. Undo. I've learned that the best practice in screencasting is to say, I'll undo that. Now the undo. Okay, that was the bad moment. Okay, where are we?
Jason, when you are eating leftover pizza, do you eat it cold or do you reheat the pizza?
With a
Federico was.
Okay, what happened here?
Like these pizza questions.
I have some pizza follow-up actually before you get to the snow talk. Federico.
Okay, I lost a bunch of stuff there. Okay, here we go. I just needed to bring this all back a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to split the clip. What I did was I tapped one of these buttons that's right next to the split clip button but isn't, which is part of the issue here is, right, you need to not do it in the wrong place. So I'm going to split my clip in a different place from Mike's clip. And let's see. So I want to get his comment out ahead of mine. So now I'm going to select these because I want to keep them all in sync. And I'm going to move them all. Oh, okay. And they won't go because I'm using the master track. So you can toggle position mode instead, which is a very nice feature. When you're in position mode, the master track can move like a normal track and it doesn't get weird. Right? It's supposed to... Oh, is it really going to do this to me? And now I've lost the ability to drag. You see, this is what I'm saying here. Can I nudge it? Can I nudge it all? No, it's not going to let me select those other tracks. and move this one, which I can move like that, right? And I can create a gap. But now I need to, right? Okay, yeah. So I move those two, but now I need to move these two. And in order to do that, I have to... Okay, hold on. Let's back up. Let's refresh this. So I'm playing
Federico was happy with the Nduja.
Right. So I just want to uncover my lay it on me and then move on. So I just want to slide Mike, but I want to leave myself. See, this is the problem. So what I want to do is slide Mike and leave myself there and just pull this to here, but it won't let me even in that mode, which is that's frustrating. So what am I gonna do? I've had to deal with this. This is one of those cases where I don't really understand why it's not going to let me move all of them. But I'm going to just bite the bullet, maybe, and move. Oh, okay. Well, it's about there. Oh, God. And now I'm going to do this and move those to about there. And it's going to be slightly out of sync, but we'll give it a try.
Federico was happy with the Nduja.
Okay.
To the Snell Talk?
Okay. All right. Lay it on me.
Federico was happy with the Nduja. He said he'll forgive me for hot honey because he's a fan of Nduja.
Oh, good.
So.
All right. Let's see.
Nduja.
Oh, good.
So, if you're wondering how the...
All right. Honestly, we're on a transatlantic phone call, essentially, so we're never perfectly in sync. I'm going to just leave it there. I think I eyeballed it a little bit. We created that gap, and then I moved the others. I wish I could move them better. I'm gonna do a little cutaway here, so I do split clip. I'm going to slide Mike so that I appear.
Honey, because he's a fan of Nduja.
Oh, good.
So,
all right. So that is some touch editing. Let's see. Why is the time and date wrong? When a screen capture starts, I think this is an iOS feature bug. I started screen capture. It also says Tuesday, January 9th. I don't know why. Is that a feature? It's weird, right? Because that's not the time, and yet that's what it shows, or the date, because it's not January, and yet. Okay. So here's what to know about other input devices, because what I think is great about the iPad, I should say, is that it is changeable. It can be a touch tablet. It can be snapped into a case like this. You could just have a Bluetooth keyboard attached to it wirelessly. You can use the Apple Pencil. You can use the trackpad. There's lots of different options in terms of how you use this. Pencil support, I would say. They've got this thing where you can write a little thing and then it's animated of you writing and you can put it in. Okay. In terms of actual editing, though, I'm just going to dismiss that. Okay, whatever. In terms of actual editing, it doesn't really do much. Pencil 2 has the hover feature that's the same as the pointer. It's the same API. So if you hover over something, it scrubs because I'm hovering with the pointer and it's scrubbing. It's the same thing. But there are no special like pencil gestures or anything like that. I can't, it just doesn't, it's very disappointing, I would say. I think that's let's say an area of opportunity for Apple to do better is to add more better pencil support in Final Cut. And I'd say overall the pointer support is kind of disappointing too. It is that scrubbing. You can do things that make it feel much more Mac-like, like the drag to select, which you can do with your finger too, but it's there. Obviously trackpad scrolling, I can do that. That works. So I can scroll using the trackpad, and that all works as you would expect it. I can, pinch in and make the timeline bigger or smaller. Here's the thing that I've found that I really like about the keyboard. One is spacebar for play pause.
If you're wondering
obviously.
How the Italians are feeling about our pizza conversations, there's another piece of update for you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I can do play pause. That's very nice. And then you'll notice here that there's some snapping going on. Quick button there to turn snapping on and off as well. Sometimes snapping is good. Sometimes snapping is bad. So I'm going to unearth my video here. And this is another feature that I absolutely love about the keyboard, which is it'll happen on my selection or when I'm dragging the playhead. So even if I have the playhead over here and I'm dragging around, if I find the place I want to cut on this track, I just do Command B, the blade tool, right? Command B to blade that clip, and that's it. And then I'm good, and I've bladed that clip.
Piece of update for you.
Okay, sounds good.
And I can select all of these, and I'm going to come here and blade that there, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to blade it there. I'm going to delete this. Just press the delete key. Imagine, and it just deletes it. I'm going to take this last little bit of my audio that's overlapping that I don't want, and I'm going to. I could just remove it, but I just slid it back a little bit. Play
about our
spacebar
conversations. There's another piece of update for you.
Sounds good.
There's a little jump cut there. What's going on? I don't like that. It's because I left Mike's video a little short, so I'm going to just drag that out to there.
Update for you.
Sounds good. I didn't even know that. I thought you made a mistake, and I thought you made a mistake.
Blade it there.
I didn't even. Sounds good.
I'm just going to take this whole thing out, right?
For you.
I thought you made a mistake, and we're describing andouille sausage. So,
I
yeah,
know.
it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, honestly, this is the most normal Final Cut you will see.
It sounds. Yeah, I'll have to have it.
And you can see there are a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. It's not everything, and it's not customizable. But my highest speed editing in Final Cut on the iPad was using the Magic Keyboard because of the keyboard shortcuts more than anything else. I honestly think that if you don't want to use a Magic Keyboard but you want to use Final Cut, that you could do it really effectively with a Bluetooth keyboard. I really do, because that will give you play pause, and that will give you very quick Command B and delete, and just some basic things that are a little bit slower because of the way that Final Cut is not supporting full-on sort of like touch shortcuts. I'll also say, since I'm promoting Fairlight here a little bit too, Fairlight has other gestures like multiple fingers down swiping, so I can delete a region by like putting 2 fingers down and swiping one way, and the other way it selects the regions. There's a lot of potential there for Apple to embrace those features more down the road. So here's another thing that I want to mention, which is, before I get there, everything else here, it's Final Cut. It's not all here, but a lot of it is here. Like, I want to do stabilization on Mike's video. I can't do it. The stabilization's not in there. But there is Clip Inspector with transform, and there's an auto crop, or you can crop it manually, which is what I did here. Volume control. Mike's clip actually has his audio on it. I just have chosen to take it down because I've got a mic recording that I'm using. Are they all mic recordings? I've got a microphone recording there. You can do animations with setting keyframes. They demoed a lot of that stuff. It has multicam support. There's a lot of stuff here. You will probably run into something and say, oh, no, that's a thing I rely on. And there's definitely stuff missing. Obviously, it doesn't round trip. It is just a one-way import if you want to take this from the iPad to the Mac. But I would say it was pretty positive. Another limitation I will point out here is if I go back out into the main view, part of what's weird here is that this is like the main view. Also it keeps telling me I need to resubscribe because the test flight version that I'm using here keeps telling me I need to resubscribe. I guess the new version's out now. I ought to do that. Anyway, while we're here, you set your timeline. So this is like the project view, but it's also the list of all the projects, which is kind of strange. And if you want to make multiple timelines, I'm so used to having them be in the editing interface where you can choose which timeline you want to work on. And that's not the case here. You actually have to exit the editing interface and then choose or duplicate or whatever a timeline. And then what you'll see here too is that I've got these separated as clips. This is a 1:38 long clip. That's because of another limitation. While there is a selection mode inside Final Cut on the iPad, what it doesn't do is let you export a selection. So it doesn't do that part. Now, I think I am now locked out. Of course I am. I am locked out. Oh, hey, sorry about that. Let's see if I can go back in while you're not looking at my password. And then this has also been super finicky. Like every time I use it, it wants me to fake subscribe. And then it says I can't. And then I try to tap. And then it says I can't. And then it tries to let me fake subscribe in test flight. And then I have to resubscribe again during the beta period. And then, yay, now we are back? Maybe? All right, well, I think we're there. So anyway, here's my edited clip. And what I need to do is I need to duplicate my timeline. In this case, after I edited the clip, I duplicated the timeline, deleted everything that was in the timeline that wasn't my clip set, that minute and a half, and then do my export. And the exporting, you know, you're thinking this is an M2 iPad, right? Like I've edited videos a lot on an M1 MacBook Air, right? So it's got plenty of power, and it's got plenty of output options. Social platforms is nice. That's the basically best for social platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And as everybody knows, these videos are on the TikTok. So you export the video, and let's just see. It's perfectly reasonable output. This is only a minute and a half video, but it's an M2 and it's cranking at it. And it's presumably those presets are using whatever stuff's built into the M2 chip to make it a little bit faster. And there it goes. And then it's going to give me a standard sharing output where I can save this to files or wherever, you know, save this to files, put it in an iCloud drive. The export was successful. Hooray. So yeah, so in summary, getting the stuff on was not great. There's some issues there, but look, it's big video files. What you're gonna do, and using the Finder copy was the fastest way. Lining up the files was a challenge, just because of the difficulty. Let me see if I can replicate this again. You tap on it, and then you want to drag it. And oh, look, it's moving now. That's great. So that doesn't normally happen. That's an incredibly inconsistent behavior because that's exactly what it's supposed to do. And I was really getting in modes where I would tap on it and be like, why won't you drag? So there's bugs there that I hope they fix. But once I got it all synced, I was actually able to edit it pretty quickly. When I'm just on the iPad, it's got to be with the thumb over the play pause button grip. I don't love some of the timeline behavior where I'm playing and I drag the playhead and it stops and I have to play it again, where I feel like, look, I'm playing and I'm dragging the playhead, keep playing, and it doesn't do that. But we just disagree on that point. Jog wheel, actually useful, not just a gimmick. In particular cases, I think the idea here is in particular cases where this little drag with your finger is so, you got to zoom in or it's so precise, you might be better off just doing the little slide with the spinny wheel. Better with a keyboard. Pencil sort of doesn't help. Trackpad sort of doesn't help other than giving you that Mac kind of feel for things like selection. It does speed things along. But the shortcuts really help because you get shortcuts for delete and blade and play pause, and those are really great. Apple, what I would say is lots of room for improvement here. I'd say a pretty good first start. I would edit videos on my iPad using Final Cut Pro and be pretty happy. Could be better. This is the room for improvement part. Is I actually feel like this is like a lot of early media apps on the iPad where they got all the functionality there and they focused on touch, and which is good because you don't want to have to use a keyboard. And they added some keyboard shortcuts, which is great. But what they're missing is that other layer, which is, are there productivity boosts we can give to people who are editing with touch or pencil? And when I saw those in my life editing Ferrite, podcasts in Ferrite, they were huge accelerants to my productivity. So I hope Apple takes another pass at Final Cut in an update and looks at ways that people who are using just their hands or using the Apple Pencil can have some gestures and multi-touch that also moves things along. But in general, there's this neat like you can make it real big if you want to. In general, it's got titles, it's got effects. It's not all the titles, it's not all the effects, but it's got a lot of stuff. I found it a pretty pleasant editing experience, even though, like I said, there are things that I wish it did. I'm very glad. Let me tell you my favorite feature that I'm glad exists. I'm really glad they implemented this kind of, you could arguable, not very iPad native drag to select with your finger thing, because that makes it a lot less painful to do edits. Because what you do not want to do, as I did until I realized I could actually drag to select, you do not want to get in the habit of having to go tap, 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 drag, done, which doesn't deselect them, and then split clip. You don't want to do that. So now you can actually do that and then that, and you're there. So some of that, the selection thing, the modality of that kind of bugs me, that you enter this separate selection mode with a select all, deselect all. I don't know. Couldn't that be in here somewhere? Couldn't we have some other way to handle selections? Little things, but a lot of potential. That's it. That's my brain dump for Final Cut Pro on the iPad. For now, please read my article in 6 Colors, where this same brain put out words onto a website. And thanks for watching. And if you came again to see about Logic, what can I tell you? Musicians, I can't wait to see what you say about Logic. I am not qualified to talk about it. It's a music product. If you're a podcast editor, look away. Look away. It's not for you. I know you tried. I know you wanted it to be. It's not. It's not for us. That's it for now. Check out 6colors.com. Goodbye.